Namaste, I'm Pulkit Mathur, and today we are going to discuss enlightenment, also known as Samadhi or Moksha. You see, recently someone emailed me and said, Maharishi Ramana bestowed enlightenment upon Annamali Swami by a mere touch. He also gave enlightenment to HWL Poonja, known as Papaji, by merely looking at him. So, can you facilitate a meeting of mine with a great sage who can transmit complete enlightenment to me by merely looking at me? As it is, I am in my 40s and I can't wait any longer. I need my soul to immediately merge in the universal consciousness. So, actually, Maharishi Ramana has himself answered this very question. Once somebody went up to him and said, Sri Ramakrishna gave Vivekananda Samadhi. So, can you do the same for me? Now, if you want to know Maharishi Ramana's witty and sharp reply, head on over to thespiritualbee.com and read it there. To find this article, just go to the Posts by Guru section at the very bottom of the home page, click on Maharishi Ramana's photo and then scroll to find this particular post. So I won't list out Maharishi Ramana's reply here, but what I want to do instead is to list out a couple of very important points that we sadhaks must ponder over. The first point is that for Annamali Swami and Papaji to have gotten enlightenment or samadhi so easily in this life, they must have struggled to conquer their ego over numerous past births. We unfortunately have a habit of seeing only the tip of the iceberg. We only note that the Maharishi simply touched or looked at these people, and automatically we assume that getting enlightenment or samadhi is as easy as this. We don't see the 90% portion hidden from our view of the enormous tapasya, the struggle that these people must certainly have put in over their past several births. In this birth, when they finally came to Sri Ramana Maharishi, they must already have conquered much of their ego. Only a small portion of it must have been remaining, which the Maharishi, by his divine grace, removed and gave these people enlightenment. It is also possible that the Maharishi took on some of the residual karmas of these people upon himself and thus paved the way for their freedom from the cycles of birth and death. So we don't focus on this 90% of truth which is hidden from our view. This person who sent me this question was certainly not in this state of near perfection as Annamali Swami. He was still a beginner. And the reason I'm saying this is because prior to this email, he had mailed me some questions. His questions were, is moksha and enlightenment one and the same? What is the purpose of life, assuming there is a purpose at all? How to ensure the soul does not reincarnate into the human form again? What happens after death? If I tell a lie in a job interview, will it lead to my rebirth? So we can see easily that these are all beginner level questions. When we are a beginner on the spiritual path, our mind is full of numerous questions and doubts. And that is good. There is nothing wrong with it. Doubts and questions are all fine actually. But as we progress in spirituality and rise to a higher and higher consciousness, these questions and doubts naturally tend to cease because they get resolved by the gaining of knowledge through spiritual experiences. And when a person comes very close to God, their doubts and questions become extremely few. Okay, so the state of one's spiritual progress can be measured by the degree of knowledge that one possesses. Papaji and Annamali Swami would certainly not have had these kind of beginner level questions in their mind if they attained to enlightenment by a mere touch or gaze of the Maharishi. So this brings us to point number 2, which is a point that Sri Aurobindo has made. Sri Aurobindo has said that to perceive one's own weakness is one result of sincerity. Mere emotionalism will not do on the spiritual path. Merely desiring and craving for samadhi or enlightenment is not enough. We need to also put in the required effort to conquer the ego. In fact, we must be able to separate ourselves, somewhat at least, from our ego and stand back and rationally evaluate where we stand in the scheme of things. How far are we from the goal? Have we conquered lust? Do we tell lies? Have we overcome greed and fear? What about jealousy and hatred? What about laziness and cunning? All these weaknesses we should be able to identify within ourselves. That is why Sri Aurobindo has said that to be able to perceive one's weakness is a result of sincerity. If we are sincerely desiring samadhi, if we are sincere about progressing spiritually, then we will impartially look within and identify our shortcomings and root them out. This is what the quote means. And this is also why Swami Vivekananda has said, by merely repeating the words God, God, we cannot hope to attain realization. We must strive and practice. How hard did Sri Ramakrishna practice to root out lust and greed for money? He would take mud in one hand and gold in the other, and he would say, what does mud give us? It gives us food. Without mud, no food can grow. What does gold give us? It buys us food. But unless food is grown, it cannot be bought. Therefore, mud is more essential than gold. But we never cling to the mud. Then why should we cling to gold? And he threw both the mud and the gold in the Ganges. In this way, Sri Ramakrishna worked very hard to condition his mind and cultivate detachment to money. It took him years of patient practice to weed out many such shortcomings in his nature. And when he did that, that is when he realized God. Okay, but we on the other hand expect to attain samadhi in a mere instant. So it is very important to have realistic expectations. As Pandit Sriram Sharma Acharya has explained in his book My Life, Its Legacy and Message, great gurus do not bestow spiritual gifts on undeserving disciples. The disciple must have demonstrated a deservingness for that grace. Otherwise, the guru's powers, which he or she has gathered through immense tapasya and hard work over many, many years, in fact over many, many lifetimes, are simply wasted. Therefore, patrata or deservingness to receive the divine's grace is key. We must build up this patrata within us. And if you want to learn more about patrata, then do watch our series on the Spiritual Bees YouTube channel. There is in fact a very interesting incident in Sri Ramakrishna's life which perfectly illustrates what Sri Ram Sharma Acharya ji is saying. There used to be a devotee of Sri Ramakrishna. He probably pestered Sri Ramakrishna to bestow upon him higher spiritual experiences. And the sage consented mainly because Sri Ramakrishna must have wanted to show to the man how unprepared his mind was to receive this grace. So as soon as the sage bestowed a higher spiritual experience upon this man, the man began to cry and howl. As his consciousness began to ascend, his mind was at once filled with tremendous fear. It wanted to rush back down into the world. It could not leave its material desires and attachments. It wanted to enjoy the world some more. It wanted to dwell in this lower material and worldly consciousness. The man's mind was not at all ready to dwell in the blissful realm of the higher divine consciousness. So he began to cry and begged Sri Ramakrishna to withdraw the experience. So friends, deservingness or patrata is key on the spiritual path. Only when we have brought the mind under our control, only when the ego has been conquered, only when desires have been conquered, only then are we in a proper position to receive the gift of samadhi or enlightenment. So let us each work hard to prepare our mind and make it ready to receive this grace which the great gurus are always ready to bestow. As Pandit Sriram Sharma Acharya has explained in the same book that I mentioned earlier, great gurus are always searching for deserving disciples upon whom they can bestow their loving grace. It is we who are not ready to receive this gift. So let us make ourselves ready. Before I end, I would like to express my deep gratitude to all of you who have donated to the Spiritual Bee Foundation. We are a charitable trust, and the making of this content has been possible only due to your kind donations. So God bless you, and I hope to see you again soon.